The moment Claire stepped into the cafe in downtown Seattle, she felt the weight of eyes that didn't welcome her. It was as if the room itself pushed her back toward the door, insisting she didn't belong there. The air was warm, filled with the smell of roasted coffee beans and pastries, but still she felt cold, small, and painfully visible. She kept her gaze low, clutching her worn-out notebook like a shield. She had come here hoping for a quiet place to gather herself, but within minutes the world reminded her once again that she wasn't wanted, that she was too different, too reserved, too quiet, too everything. And as she stood frozen, unsure whether to stay or escape, one moment shattered her fragile composure completely. It wasn't the unkind stares that broke her, it was realizing how deeply she had grown used to them. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the power of simple human compassion, please like this video, leave a comment, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more meaningful stories like this to life. Claire had moved from Ohio to Washington just 2 months earlier, her life packed into a few suitcases and a heart full of hesitant hope. After losing her job and breaking off an unhealthy relationship, she had desperately needed a fresh start. Seattle seemed distant and daunting, but also full of possibility, like maybe she could finally rebuild herself. But the loneliness followed her like a shadow she couldn't shake off. At the office where she worked as an assistant, she was the outsider, barely acknowledged, included only when necessary. People didn't see her, they saw through her, around her, past her. Every day felt like a quiet battle to keep her confidence from crumbling. That morning, she had escaped to the cafe after a tense moment with her supervisor. He had corrected her in front of the entire team, sharply and loudly, as if raising his voice was the only way she'd understand. The room had gone silent. She had felt her throat tighten as humiliation burned through her. So she left during her break, hoping the cafe's calm atmosphere would soothe her trembling heart. But instead, as she waited in line, a group of coworkers, the same ones who had watched earlier, approached. They stopped whispering the moment they saw her, their smirks, their raised eyebrows, the way they shifted slightly away from her. Every gesture stabbed at her already bruised sense of worth. She ordered her coffee and turned toward the tables, hoping to find a hidden corner. That's when she realized the cafe was crowded. There were only a few empty seats scattered around, but each one was beside people who made it clear she wasn't welcome. Some spread their bags over additional chairs, others looked away with forced indifference. And then one woman, someone from her office, shook her head almost imperceptibly when Claire moved toward an empty seat near her. It was rejection in its purest, coldest form. So Claire retreated to the far end of the cafe, to a tiny table she barely managed to claim. She sat with her hands clasped tightly, trying to steady her breathing. She felt foolish for coming, foolish for thinking she could find peace anywhere, foolish for believing she could start over. That's when she heard footsteps approaching. But these footsteps didn't sound hurried, self-important, or mocking. They moved with a kind of calm certainty. When she looked up, she saw a man standing nearby, his expression soft with concern. He looked to be in his early 30s, with warm brown eyes and a calm presence that seemed to soften the air around him. His name, she would soon learn, was Marcus. Marcus hadn't been watching her out of judgment. He had been sitting near the window, working quietly, when he noticed the way she shrank into herself. He had seen the subtle but unmistakable cruelty of the people around her, and something inside him refused to let her sit there alone in her hurt. Without hesitation, he gestured to his table and asked if she wanted to join him. There was no pity in his eyes, only genuine kindness. Claire hesitated at first. She wasn't used to people seeing her in any real way, but something about his sincerity disarmed her. She nodded, moved toward his table, and sat down across from him. For a long moment they didn't speak, and strangely she didn't feel pressured to. His presence was calm enough that silence didn't feel heavy. Eventually, he began talking about simple things. The book he was reading, the unpredictable Seattle weather, the pastries the cafe was famous for. He didn't ask her invasive questions. He didn't pry into her pain. He simply created space for her, a soft place where she could breathe again. Slowly, Claire found herself opening up. She told him about her move, her new job, how difficult it had been to adjust. She expected him to judge her, to dismiss her feelings as overly sensitive. But instead, he listened, really listened. And with every quiet nod, every thoughtful expression, every small acknowledgement of her experience, he restored pieces of her dignity that she had long abandoned. Marcus understood isolation better than he let on. Years earlier, he had gone through his own season of loneliness when he moved from Texas to Washington after losing his father. He knew how it felt to walk into rooms where no one wanted you there. He knew how painful it was to feel invisible, unwanted, misplaced, and perhaps that was why he recognized her hurt so clearly. The way her shoulders curled inward, the way her eyes avoided everyone else's, the way she apologized even for existing. Their conversation unfolded so naturally it surprised her. She found herself laughing quietly at one of his stories. She hadn't laughed like that in months. It felt foreign, yet healing. As time passed, she realized something she hadn't expected at all. She felt safe. When she eventually returned to the office, she carried that moment with her, that rare experience of being treated with dignity, kindness, and respect. She wasn't magically healed, but something inside her had shifted. She walked with a little more confidence. She found it easier to speak up during meetings. She didn't shrink quite as easily when others dismissed her. And over the following weeks, she and Marcus continued meeting, sometimes for coffee, sometimes for walks by the waterfront after work. Each time, he reminded her through his actions that she mattered. But the real turning point came on a rainy Friday afternoon, when her supervisor once again raised his voice at her in front of others. Claire stood frozen, the old familiar panic rising in her chest, until she remembered Marcus's words from earlier that week. You don't have to let people make you feel small just because they see you that way. For the first time, Claire calmly asked her supervisor to speak with her privately. She addressed the issue professionally, assertively, and with a strength she didn't know she had. The room had gone silent, but this time she stood tall. That small act of courage changed everything. She became more respected at work. People started including her. They noticed her skill, her reliability, her quiet resilience, and though she didn't need their approval anymore, it felt validating. As for Marcus, he didn't just help her through loneliness. He became a light in her life. It didn't happen fast or dramatically. It grew slowly, steadily, beautifully. One act of kindness had rewritten the direction of her entire life. And all because one man chose compassion when everyone else chose convenience. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, comment, share it with someone who might need it today, and make sure to subscribe for more inspiring stories.